Welcome to the program. Last week we were discussing about the diaspora investment in Africa, how it will be of good to our people and how the investment will yield results. Tonight we're in a continuation of that series. I have in the studio Jerry Gbadi. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I'm glad to be here again today.
Jerry, yes, this investment or what do you call it? Investment we send back home. Those of us in diaspora, remittances that we send back home. It is crucial that we begin to put this on the ground so that we and everybody watching this program will have a kind of background, kind of background to how this problem affects our people back home, because it is crucial that these things are targeted, investment are targeted. Otherwise, this discussion will continue, or this blame back and forth will be tossed around on why the investment that diasporans from Africa, the investment back home is not yielding results. Jerry, how do we get here and what can be done to improve it?
Joe, thanks for that question. Most of the time, I know you get the same kind of calls from your family back home. Most of the time, our family members back home, they're asking for money all of the time. They think we get up in the morning, go up in the tree, shake it, and the leaves fall down. They turn into money. You send it back to them. Now, what I like to encourage them to do is identify a project. Instead of me sending the money to you to buy food and eat, what we call like just putting the money in a bottomless pit, identify a business venture that you will be the CEO of. I will only be the financial. I will provide the funding, the initial capital for you to do it. I think that's one of the best ways we can do it. So that
Jerry, let me stop you right there. Will you be comfortable for somebody, you are having the resources, you have the finance? Will you allow somebody back home to tell you the business interest that you want to invest, or you are supposed to go there and identify the business interests?
No, Joe.
Because when somebody back home is you're give the person a blank check to identify the project, they're going to look at things that they'll be comfortable with. In business, there's a risk. There's also the idea.
Joe, let me clarify that. Someone is asking me for food money all of the time. To make that person be independent, I will take the capital, give it to the person, let them start their own business. That way, I have no say in it. I give you the business, it's up to you. Start it. When you start to do it, when you're making progress, it's good for you and your family.
In a way, you are talking about you doing a philanthropic thing, or a charity like stuff.
Because a member of your family that relies on you all the time to feed them from afar, they can do something on their own to be independent. But because they don't have the initial capital, you can help them out, let them do it. Now, if you want to do a business of your own, the suggestion to you is go on the ground, do a feasibility study. What do you think would be a good project or commodity that you will engage in to make business on the ground? If you see it, you got to do a lot of calculations on what the risks involved. Is this product that I want to sell, will it be the one that will go fast on the market?
Okay,
All of
Jerry,
these things.
Jerry, what we advocate, what we are saying here is investment that's far-reaching and in-depth. We're not talking about investment in neighborhood of thousands of dollars. So why don't we, let me put this across. Instead of this subsistence living investment, why don't we, for instance, you are from Liberia, why don't you form a team of about 10 people, you form a company, form a kind of a company to fund an investment that will employ at least 100 people in Liberia, so that for a starting point, instead of this cheap investment that will not stand the test of time.
Good job, Joe. that is another good way for Africans to do. You're talking about two, three, four, five people, like a conglomerate.
Conglomerate.
Put your money together and go to start a business on the ground. That's
Yeah.
another good way too, so that they will be able to hire a lot of people on the ground who will be independent. Because the more they work and they take pay at the end of the period, whether 2 weeks or 1 month, that money can be, help the economy of that area to grow. It may probably be a macroeconomic activity or macroeconomic activity that will also help the government's financial base. But here is the catch. There, you got to consider the risk factors involved. In Africa, the investment climate has to be very sustainable. It has to be one that if you put your money in, it will grow, the business will grow. The fear is by tomorrow you hear someone get up on the radio and say, "Oh, I am General so and so. I just
So
overthrew."
who's going to guarantee that? Is the
You can't
government?
guarantee. But
Is the
okay,
government?
it can be a civilian government, it can be a military government, but it's not guaranteed because a soldier boy will get up one night and grab one or two bodies. "Oh, let's go take over."
No, I thought this soldier thing, the co-plotting stuff, is now minimized. Apart from the one that came up
Yeah,
in
Joe, it is.
Guinea and
But
Burkina
anything
Faso.
can happen. Anything can happen. It's minimized. People, I don't know whether OAU and AU, they are getting involved, telling people that if you stage a coup, we will condemn the coup. We will not welcome you into the fray. But three countries have done the coup and they decided to break away. I think Niger, that's Mali, that's Burkina Faso, right? What is going on now? ECOWAS.
Okay, before we get to the government part, we're talking about me, you, and the producer in back of the camera. If we are trying to invest in Africa, what are the things that we need to take care of before we can demand from government an enabling environment? So you, for instance, you've experienced it. What are the things we need to do as investors in back home? Can you identify that?
Yeah, Joe, we can identify them all we want, but we don't control what the next person.
From
There,
the basics, what do we need to know? What do we need to do as investors?
we will encourage the government to create an enabling environment. Let there be
No, leave the
facilities.
enabling environment to the government.
Okay.
The investors, like you and I, if we want to invest to help our people back home, I'm against this cheap tip
No, it
here and
doesn't
all
help.
that to
It
leave.
doesn't help. It's not a long-term solution giving
Okay.
handout here and there.
Yes.
But like what you just suggested earlier, if we are like 4, 5, up to 10 people that pool our resources and go there to establish a business, we have to be cognizant also of the risk factors, right? Now, if the environment is not free, investment does not like to go to where there is turmoil, where there is instability. When the environment is free and the government creates the situation where the legal system in the country is reliable, you can invest in it. Because when you go to invest, the guys who are on the ground, they themselves too, they are looking for a way to enrich themselves at your expense. Now you buy the land. When you turn your back, the land owner may sell it to Joe, who
Okay.
has.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. If you and I were investing in business here, first of all, you do a feasibility study. You put the legal framework in place, right?
Yeah.
You consult the bank. If there's money that you need to take good loan and be able to finance the business. You also need to think about feasibility studies. What are the potentials for this business to grow? Is this something that people need? Because I'm advised by an investor, invest in something that people need.
Yeah, that is that.
All right.
That is so
So
true.
those are the things that people need to go back home and do before putting their money down as an investment.
Exactly. You do feasibility study. You go on the ground, see what product on the ground that sells fast. Okay, when you do all that, make sure the environment, the legal system is strong enough that if you're duped, you can seek redress in the court of law and get a redress from there. Sign the business contract with anybody you're going to be dealing with. When the institutions, the legal institutions over there are strong enough, you can now be comfortable to sign an agreement with a person who is on the ground. If you're going to go alone, even if you're going as a group, all of those things have to be put in place. What are we going to be dealing in? We going to be dealing in maybe the exportation of raw materials from here abroad, or we're going to use the raw materials and finish them here on the ground. That will also make your company to hire local staff people that will work in there, and you do the exportation of the finished good. Now, all of what you're going to be, that is why the feasibility study part is very essential
Okay.
in your business.
Three more things. Somebody have mentioned this to me, and I take the person seriously. You invest, you're an absentee investor. That's another big issue that is not proper. An absentee investor means you invest and run away. You put your money down and you leave the country, and it's not, and you don't put proper structures on the ground before you put your money down and come back to the Western world.
No, you're not just going to do that. If you actually want to invest,
do you stay to monitor?
You stay for some period of time, monitor it. Even in your office, you got to put CCTV camera all over the place to make sure that the environment that you're doing your business from is secure enough that you don't have intruders. Even your employees, you don't have them taking some products away at the end of the day, because people like to get rich at the expense of other people, right? Like what I said a few days ago, Joe, the most expensive commodity in Africa doing business is what? Honesty. Honesty is so expensive that the Dan Cote and people like that.
Now, okay, you just mentioned honesty. I think we also need to share in that blame, because you go back to Africa, and then you join the bandwagon of rewarding your workers unjustly. Not rewarding when enough, giving them pay that will sustain the existence, not living, not just existing, livable wage. If you go back to Africa, you pay your workers badly, you cannot command their loyalty. What is
the way to do it?
Yes.
You look at what's on the book. What is the government's minimum wage? Comparable to where you come from. If you come from Canada, you know the minimum wage for someone who is a shopkeeper or working the fields here. The minimum wage, you compare that, you go back home. If you say you have a farm, a rice farm, the guys who are doing the back-breaking job on the rice farm, give them wages that will make them to sustain themselves. Or of course, you're not going to be paying them higher than what you can afford. Your business is going to break down. So you pay them according to the government's minimum wage standard. That way, if your employee begins to make noise, you say, but this is what the government is paying.
Well, it's agreed that the minimum wage back in Africa is not a living kind of sustainable. It's not something that sustains living.
So then you're going to up it up a little bit.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
A little bit to make them to feel comfortable to work for you, But if the theft part is in the mindset of the employees, the way you can do it is to prevent it from happening. You can prevent it from happening if you install CCTV cameras all over the place, and you start to reward employees based on performance. That will also encourage them not to steal from you, right?
I have a friend who lived there and has a business in Africa, Nigeria, for instance. The work culture of our people stinks. Terrible. Do you understand, Jerry?
Yes, I know that.
Terrible.
We go to work late.
Yes,
and
I have a
leave
friend.
early.
Yes, I have a friend who has a hotel. You see cleaners, janitors, they clean first thing in the morning, and they go to their rooms and be sleeping, and they won't wake up until 2. Jerry, here in Canada, as a janitor, you don't sleep at work. You don't sleep on duty, do you?
No, they don't. You go, you do your work. You got to complete your work. And if you want to take a nap, then because that's nighttime janitorial work.
Okay, security men, they don't sleep during
Yeah.
duties, do they?
They
have
are
to
not supposed to sleep.
Okay.
But can you imagine a security guy going and telling his boss, "Hey, boss, I had a dream last night, and you were involved in an accident. So please don't take mama and the children in the car today." And the boss goes, "How? Did I hire you to be a dreamer to sleep? You're not supposed to sleep on the job."
Yeah, that's one thing. You cannot hawk. You cannot do some hawking ways, commodity and articles during your shift period. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Back home, people sell wares during official duties.
Yeah.
That's not allowed. So that's another culture that we need to change for business to prosper.
Right, to prosper.
To
Look,
thrive.
Joe, we in the diaspora, there is a whole lot that is expected of us, right? When you go back home and you get before you even open your own business, if you have the chance to serve in government, you can make a huge difference. Not only by legislation, by issuing memo that look, every employee is supposed to be at work at this time. If you don't come, we will reprimand you. All you need to do is in the morning, you be the first in the office.
Okay, that's what we're talking about, Jerry.
You are the first in the office.
That's what we're talking about. You cannot just invest and walk away. You have to set a good example. You have to set the pace.
Yes.
So you put money down and come take the next flight back to Canada or United States.
Okay.
You have not set good example.
That's your own business. You put the money down. You make sure you are there. You monitoring the business.
Change the culture.
Change the culture. When people are agreeing into your what you're trying to instill in them, then comfortably you can walk away. Look, I'm building a house in Monrovia, but sometimes I save the money, and I go there with the cash and I sit there
Watch them.
and watch them. Well, the materials, we go to the store, identify. I have the blueprint in my hand, material cost, everything, the BOQ, bill of quantity, I have it in my hand. You are the builder, you know exactly what is here. You show it, I pay for it. You show it, I pay for it. You show it, I pay for it. After that, put it in the car and go to the site.
So do you give is the construction of that building ongoing while you are not there, or while you are there?
When I'm there, the construction is going on right before my eyes.
Then when you leave,
if it is at a standstill, it stays at a standstill.
See?
Or I identify someone that I can trust very well.
How long will that trust thrive?
Again,
How long?
You got to give someone the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
You try them for the first time. If they mess up, then you don't deal with them again.
I hear a lot the people back home, they accuse us that we monitor too much. Is that something?
It's not something.
Is that tenable?
It's not unreasonable to monitor. Because if you invest in something, you have to monitor it to make sure that it is going the way you want it to go. Because people have a tendency of getting rich at your expense. If it were their own property, they take care of it. If it is yours, they do not take care of it. So it's good for you to be around to monitor. If you monitor it, you know your money's worth is yielding dividend. You can retreat and relax a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. That's a continuation of our series discussing about the potentials of African in diaspora and the investment back home, the ups and downs, and the hiccups, and how we can make it better so that money that is repatriated back home will be of benefit. Jerry Gbadi, thank you for coming to the studio, and I appreciate your incisive comments all the time.
Thank you, Joe.
And to our viewers across the globe, we want to thank you for watching us, and stick with us. We'll continue with this series in Africans in diaspora investment back home, and it's something that that's going to be a teachable episode for each and every one of us. I'm Joe Hizoda. Have a good night. Bye-bye.